novamusic.com.
Hey everybody, this is Rich Formidoni, Product Manager for Korg USA. I'm here at Nova Music and we are going to dig in to the Kronos Music Workstation. So there's an awful lot to do here. This is our new flagship workstation. It has so much capability, and the coolest thing about it is that it has 9 complete synthesis engines inside one keyboard. So what I'm going to do is take you through a little guided tour of those 9 engines. The first one is the SGX1 acoustic piano. So what SGX1 is a sample playback engine that is directly accessing large 4.7 gigabyte piano libraries from an internal solid-state hard drive. So once we have the piano selected, we can choose from 30 different piano types. So you can select a bright German grand, a darker Japanese grand, or a bright Japanese grand, and we've had some wonderful artists help us out with these. Lyle Mays of Pat Metheny Group, Russ Ferrante, and Jordan Rudess. All customized pianos, adjusting the velocity response and the tonality to suit their needs. So you'll be able to experiment with their instruments within SGX1. You can also customize the piano tailored to the way you need to play. So for example, I can adjust the lid position. And I can control things like damper resonance, mechanical noise, damper noise, and note release. So that gives you the simulation of having old damper felts. So that's a very cool thing. Now, moving on, I'm going to show you our next synthesis engine, which is EP1. So what we're doing here is recreating Tyne and reed-based electric pianos. So I can select from 6 different models of electric piano and go from there. When I press exit, now I can touch the top panel and explore the actual instrument. Now you can turn on and off a speaker cabinet model, and you can also add some vintage effects. So these effects are built into the engine and don't take up any of Kronos' additional effects processing power. So for example, here's a chorus, and I can adjust that, select a different effect. And these are all the vintage effects that were in the SV1 stage vintage piano. So they sound absolutely great. And that's our second synthesis engine. And third up is our CX3 Tonewheel organ modeling engine. So I'm using the sliders on the top panel of Kronos just as I would drawbars on a real Tonewheel organ. I can also change the rotary speaker speed with the joystick, add chorus and percussion, and you heard the little wheel brake trick. So now you can do that without worrying about burning out the motor in your organ. So moving on, our next engine is a recreation of the classic PolysixEX. And what we've done is we've taken all the controls from the original PolysixEX and reproduced them on the display of Kronos. So all the warmth and flexibility of the PolysixEX sound is here. So the PolysixEX was always very, very good at creating warm string and pad sounds, and it's also great for bass sounds as well. All the controls from the original PolysixEX have been recreated here on the display, and they're also tied to the control surface. So as I move knobs and sliders, I can see the changes reflected on the display. So it's very hands-on and a lot of fun to play with. Along with the PolysixEX, we've also given you a recreation of our classic MS-20 monosynth. Only now it's not monophonic, now it's like having 40 of them at once. complete with self-oscillating filter. That filter is known for its aggressive sound, and that's recreated perfectly within Kronos. So in addition to the knobs that you see on the display, we've also recreated the patch panel. And we've got some additional functionality here that's not found in the Legacy collection. For example, the audio input allows you to connect an external microphone and connect it to the frequency to voltage converter, and you can actually have the synthesizer sing along with you. So there's lots of power in the MS-20. Now, moving along, there's a lot of synth engines to go through here. Our next one is AL1. AL1 is a ground-up creation of what Korg's vision of an analog synthesizer should be. So you have loads of LFOs and envelopes. There is a multi-filter, which allows you to blend and morph between different filter shapes. So I'll give you a good example of that. And while I'm doing that, a good example of what just one note on AL1 is capable of doing. Now, I just turned on Karma and the drum track. Drum track is there to give you a quick shot of rhythmic inspiration. So, for example, if I'm playing an electric piano sound, I might just want a quick rhythm to accompany me, and I can just press drum track and I'm ready to go. So there's loads of different rhythms built in. There's nearly 700 patterns, many of which were played in by real musicians, real drummers, such as Ricky Lawson. So we had a lot of artists helping us out here. In fact, this is George Duke's signature electric piano sound. So we got to sit with George and have him help us design some of the sounds that were built in. So we've covered a few synth engines here. This next one is really cool. This is Mod 7. Mod 7 is a wave-shaping VPM synthesizer. So it's great for recreating frequency modulation sounds from some classic synths. So you'll hear some very familiar sounding stuff. So some great bells and electric piano sounds, but we also go way beyond what classic digital synthesizers were capable of doing. For example, we can actually introduce PCM samples into the modulation chain. So we can have a sample modulating or being a carrier within the synthesis engine, and we're not just limited to a fixed set of algorithms. You can program your own. Here's a didgeridoo. At least it starts out as a didgeridoo. So a few more examples of this here. Here's a great lead sound, and what I'm going to do is modulate using the vector joystick, which is just above the XY joystick. So there are many different places you can go with Mod 7. Our next synth engine is STR1. This is a plucked string physical modeling engine. Now, the cool thing is we can reproduce a physical string and decide where we want to pluck, scrape, or strike it. And you can also adjust parameters like nonlinearity or damping to coax some very interesting textures out of the string. So it's very good for reproducing acoustic instruments like harps, harpsichords, claves, and guitars. So here, for example, is a layer of guitar and strings. And we've got Karma and the drum track providing some rhythmic and bass line accompaniment. So as we move along, there's even more to do here. We've also got our HD1 sample playback engine. This is our high definition synthesis engine. We can play back up to 8 stereo velocity crossfading layers at once. We've got some beautiful graphic representations of all the different sounds that we're playing here. And this can cover just about all ground. So if I jump into combi mode, for example, using HD1, what I'm going to do is recreate a complete orchestra. So that's an example of a combi where 16 different sounds can be layered, split, and velocity switched across the keys. While we're playing with HD1, I just want to show you a few more sounds because HD1 can actually take advantage of the solid-state hard drive the same way our SGX1 piano engine can. So we can read these large sample collections directly from the drive. So the concept of ROM is pretty much obsolete here. We've got nearly 12 gigabytes of sample data stored on that drive that you can access instantly. Included in that large sample collection is a great sounding library of vintage keyboards. And just like these original tape-based instruments, the tapes run out after about 8 seconds. I want to show you how I'm selecting sounds here. This is set list mode. Set list allows you to combine programs, combis, and sequences all in a single page. So you can have 16 slots in one page, 128 slots total in one set list. And you can store tons and tons of set lists on the internal hard drive. So plenty to do there. And here's another cool thing that I'll show you. When I switched from the piano to the electric piano, the original acoustic piano kept ringing while the new one played. These are smooth sound transitions. It also works in combi mode. So I can transition from one 16-part combi to another with no effect dropout and without limiting the number of effects or timbres that I can use. So, Kronos also includes a sequencer which gives you 16 MIDI tracks and 16 audio tracks, and each one of those 32 tracks has its own dedicated 3-band EQ. The audio tracks can also be recorded in 24-bit, which is especially nice. There's also a powerful sampling section, which allows you to import WAV, AIF, Akai format programs and samples, and sound font level 2. So plenty of ways to import your favorite sounds, and once you get them in, or resampling from the keyboard itself, you can modify the waveform right from the touch view display. You can zoom in and out and use useful tools like crossfade looping, time slice, and time stretch, and save a program with all your samples. One last thing to tell you as we just finished scratching the surface here, all of the Kronos synthesis engines run as a plugin in your favorite DAW. So you can load the included software editor as a VST or audio units plugin. And what that lets you do is harness the power of these 9 synth engines within your computer and without using up any of your computer's resources. So when you load the plugin editor and work on a song in your favorite DAW, save the project and then come back to it, it'll reset Kronos the exact same way you left it. So again, I'm Rich Formidoni from Korg USA. Thanks to my good friends at Nova Music, and thanks to you for watching.